What is up guys, Mark here from Denki Media and you're watching an unboxing, short review, and modding of one of the best budget keyboards for first-time mechanical keyboard users, the Royal Kludge RK84. Let's go! A bit of a backstory, I had my first ever mechanical keyboard last 2020. Back then, my 500 peso membrane keyboard broke, so I have to replace it with something cheap. And since I wanted to try a mechanical keyboard for the longest time, I watched some YouTube reviews about cheap mechanical keyboards, and a few hours later, I bought a GigaWare K550 from Facebook Marketplace. And yep, in case you're wondering, it's a blue switch. After a few weeks of using it, I wasn't really impressed and satisfied with its RGB, and the blue switches are too noisy for my liking. So I bought a rack Elis with red switches instead from a local PC shop. Up until now, it's still my daily driver, and after a year of usage and a few switches that doesn't work anymore, I think it's time for its retirement. I've always loved the Gateron K2 because of its compact layout and keycaps. I was inspired by a lot of tech influencers because the K2 looks so great on their desk setups. I really wanted to have one, but I felt like after watching some reviews about it, I decided that personally, it's not worth it anymore. So the search for my next keyboard continues. And here comes the Royal Kludge RK84. Sleek, sexy, cheap. It has everything I wanted for a keyboard. Hot swappable, wireless, RGB, software, and most importantly, that 80% form factor. So let's start with unboxing. Inside the box is the very handy user manual which contains most of the information about the keyboard. After that is the keyboard itself, a USB Type-C cable, keycap puller, extra switches, and magnetic stands. The RK84 is available in both white and black and a choice between red, blue, or brown switches. And as I've said a while ago, it's hot swappable, so you can change the switches and keycaps to your liking. The stock switches and stabs aren't really that bad, and it can work to people who are just starting with the hobby or just wanted to have a mechanical keyboard. I'll be doing a sound test later in the video, so stay tuned. The keyboard has quite a bit of weight on it and the build quality is very nice. No visible flex, and overall, it looks great. You can also remove the frame if you want a floating aesthetic. It has also two USB pass-throughs at the back, which can be very handy at times. RK is actually very generous to put this kind of feature for a budget keyboard. And in terms of connection, they have what they call the tri-mode. The keyboard can connect to a 2.4 GHz wireless connection, Bluetooth 5.0, and wired mode. While using the Bluetooth, you can also connect and switch between three devices. You can change the connection at the back as it has two switches for turning it on and off and for changing from Bluetooth to 2.4 GHz. Although there are some talks online that when using the 2.4 GHz wireless USB, it can cause some latency when trying to use it from a distance. But from personal experience, it still worked even though the keyboard is 5 meters away. The Bluetooth mode on the other hand is smooth like butter. You also get a 3750 mAh battery that RK claims to reach up to 200 hours with non-stop use of the RGB and can charge fully for 6 to 7 hours. There is no visual battery indicator, but what you can do is every time you plug the keyboard through your PC, the spacebar light will blink 3 times, which indicates that it's charging, and 5 times when it's fully charged. The function key also lights up when the battery is low. For the RGB, it has a lot of presets to choose from. The brightness is decent for the black keyboard, but a lot of people says that the RGB for the white keyboard is definitely brighter. The RK84 also has a software, but I haven't tried it yet. Bonus tip, you can ask the seller of the keyboard for the software. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications so that you'll be notified whenever I have a new video of your favorite keyboard. It will help the channel to grow and make more videos like this. I appreciate y'all. Now let's do the sound test. And now, with everything set, let's mod the RK84. So the first thing that I would change is the switches. I'll be using the Gateron Pro Milky Yellows, which comes factory lube, to replace the stock red switches. I bought these from GMK's Shopee store, and they are priced at 120 pesos for 10 pieces, but I got them for 110 for 10 pieces last 10/10 sale. Shout out to GMK and thank you for the free switch pullers. By the way, I'll be linking all of the stuff that I have bought for the mods in the description below. And please note that I am from the Philippines, so the listings are in Philippine peso. And for my Filipino viewers, yup, Shopee lang sa kalam. Next is the stabilizers, which I also bought from GMK. These are the Durock plate-mounted stabs, clipped, lubed, and holeyed by EscKeys. Shout out to EscKeys as she helped me big time with this build. So if you are from Angeles City, Pampanga, and if you need help for your keyboard like switch lubing, stab tuning, and more, just message her on her Facebook page and link in the description. Next is a pre-cut foam dampener, which will be put between the PCB and the plate, and it will reduce the sound made by the keyboard. Again, link is in the description if you're interested. The next thing is the 2mm EVA foam, which I'll be using as the case foam to dampen the sound. I'll also be doing the Tempest Tape Mod, and I have here a maskin tape for the first 2 layers and duct tape for the 3rd layer. Initially, I wanted to use gaffer's tape, but I can't seem to find any on my local hardware. Next is PE foam mod. I'll be using a PE foam that I also bought on Shopee, but you might find some lying around from boxes you've ordered online. And last but not the least, the keycaps. I'll be using a set of 140 XDA honey milk keycaps. And again, link in the description for those who are interested. And now, with everything ready, let's start modding. First things first, I'll be removing the keycaps by using a keycap puller. You can find 2 versions of keycap pullers, but I prefer to use this one as the plastic one can scratch the keycaps. After removing the keycaps, let's remove the switches by using a switch puller. You can use the one that is included with the keyboard, but I'll be using the one from GMK as it would be easier. Next, removing the stabilizers. You can use tweezers, but I don't have one on hand, so I'll be using the switch puller instead. Just find the small knob, then pull it out. Too easy. We can now proceed to unscrewing the plate from the case using a screwdriver. There are 6 screws, and be sure to keep them in a safe container so that you won't lose them. And then, slowly pull the plate from the case, but be extra careful as there are 2 cables that are connected to the PCB. One from the battery and one from the motherboard. Just unplug them with care and you can remove them safely. This part is the hardest part, at least for me, because I'm so nervous that I might break them. I don't have the money to buy another keyboard. So after pulling out the cable successfully, I will put a case foam using a 2mm EVA foam. After watching a lot of keyboard mods, I noticed that there are a lot of ways to put the foam and there isn't a specific way to install one. Some says it's okay to cover the battery with the foam, but some also says that it's not, as it can damage the battery when it's too hot. So just to be safe, I didn't put foam on the top of the battery. The foam is quite big, so you have to cut it in a few pieces to make it fit. Don't forget to leave holes for the 2 switches and for the 6 screw holes. Next is removing the plate from the PCB. You'll just have to find the 5 screws behind the PCB and unscrew them. Again, keep the screws so that you won't lose them. After separating the plate from the PCB, I will now put the stabilizers on the plate. Make sure that the clips will snap into place. After that, we can put the foam dampener which I bought online. I will also put the link in the description on where you can buy this. I bought an 84 key layout, but the screw holes doesn't seem to fit exactly on the plate. You'll have to cut some parts of it so that the screw holes will fit. Although you can find also in Shopee a pre-cut foam that fits exactly on the RK84. It costs a bit more than this one, but silly me, I just found about them after I placed my order with this. So if you want to skip the hassle of cutting out the foam, just make sure to buy one that is perfectly fit for RK84. As you can see, it doesn't really look good. The foam is kinda messy and I just hope that it will work. Next is the PE foam mod. I bought this on Shopee too and they're very cheap. The foam is very big and I feel like I can do 20 keyboards for just one order. So to start, You could trace the PCB to the PE foam and mark all the screw holes and stabs and cut them out so they can fit the PCB. And if you also want to skip the hassle of cutting, as it is not very easy, at least for me, you can also buy pre-cut PE foam for RK84. Shoutouts to pmx.gg, they offer pre-cut foams, plates, custom frames, and more. Just check them out on Facebook and Shopee. Even though I haven't bought from them, they're pretty helpful and active on keyboard groups on Facebook, so might as well shout them out. Now, after having a hard time cutting out the PE foam to fit the PCB, it's time to put the PCB back again by putting the screws back on. After that, poke a hole on the PE foam through the plate and PCB so that the switches will fit and won't bend once installed. Next mod, the Tempest Tape. I'll be using 2 layers of masking tape and a 3rd layer of duct tape. Make sure to not cover the slots where the battery and motherboard cables connected to the PCB. And also, leave some uncovered parts for the screw holes of the case. After applying layers of tape, we can now put the plate back to the case. Make sure to connect the 2 cables back and be careful so that you won't break them. After that, you can screw everything back together. I had a bit of a hard time in screwing everything back as I think I put too much layers of foams and tape. I actually used a bit of force just to close the plate to the case to screw it back together. Good thing is, no more hollow case. You can check if everything works by switching the keyboard on, because I mistakenly turned the Bluetooth switch instead of the on and off switch, so my heart dropped a bit because I thought I broke my keyboard. Now, we're one step closer to finishing the mod. You can now put the switches into the keyboard. Just make sure to check if the pins aren't bent and put them in proper orientation so they can fit on the sockets well. It should be easy, but the PE foam might give you a bit of a problem in installing them. So if pins are bent, you can always unbend them so you don't have to worry. And for the icing on the cake, installing the keycaps. The easiest thing to do and no explanation needed. I really love how it all turned out. The black case fits the honey and milk keycaps well, and I'm a proud man. Additional tip, try to do an online keyboard test to check if all the switches are working or some are bent. So with everything assembled, let's now do a quick sound test. So to conclude everything, I had so much fun modding my RK84. Considering it's my first time modding a keyboard, I think it went pretty good. I was pretty amazed with how it all turned out. The final keyboard looked so good to me, and it sounded a lot better compared to stock with all the mods and new switches and stabilizers. It's the same as the concept I had in my head when I was just planning to mod the keyboard. I wanted to have a talky sounding keyboard, and I think it's talky enough for my liking. Some minor setbacks here and there because the stubs are like a love and hate relationship. So overall, the RK84 is really the budget king of keyboards for me, and it has a lot of room for modding. Just a few mods and it's already better than some of the more expensive pre-builds. And for the modding experience, it was pretty great. So for the next time, I will make sure that I'll learn how to lube switches and tune the stabilizers so that I can actually say that I did modded and built the keyboard all by myself. But I will admit that the craftsmanship and how the mods turn out physically is not that good. because I was really sleepy when I tried to mod this. I was just excited to start modding even though it's already 1 a.m. And again, I'll be putting all the product links below, so be sure to check it out. And disclaimer, these are not affiliated links, these are just links that I wanted to share with all of you. And if you want more videos like this, please consider subscribing for more. Like and share this video if you want to, and turn on the post notification bell. If you also want to see some photos of my keyboard and my desk setup, you can follow me on Instagram at denkidesks. And for my next video, I'll be modding an RK84 from Royal Kludge again, so be sure to stay tuned. Again, thank you for watching this video. This is Denki Media. Ka-ciao!